Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Nadia Ali, and today we will be discussing a very important topic. The topic for today is endocrine disruptors. And the reason why this topic is very important is because, according to a new report, we are producing chemical compounds at a rate of 10 million per year, which translates into 1,000 new chemicals being synthesized every hour. Unfortunately, most of them are unregulated, and we have very little information about how these compounds are actually affecting our health. And so, when we look at endocrine disrupting chemicals, these are the chemicals about which we have some information. And there are many more chemical compounds for which we literally have no information. These compounds are very important because they have implications. They have implications for many different organ systems of our body. They are known to cause disruption of multiple systems. And so we will be looking into endocrine disruptors as potential root causes of disease. So we're going to start off by talking about the endocrine system before we talk about endocrine disruptors. So the endocrine system is very important because it is responsible for the control and regulation of all the major functions and processes of our body. And the way the system functions is that it consists of a network of glands. And these glands produce, store, and secrete hormones. And these hormones are then responsible for energy control, reproduction, immunity, behavior, growth, and development. So the hormones are critically important for health and harmony of our body and mind. So, why are hormones important? As we said before, that they regulate different processes in our body, which means that they're responsible for things like maintaining a blood pressure. They're responsible for reproduction. They're responsible for weight control. They're responsible for control of hunger. And the way these hormones work is that they're chemical messengers. And these chemical messengers are able to provide messages to different parts of the body. And so hormones play a very important role in digestion. They play a very important role in brain function. They play a very important role in terms of regulating blood sugar, and the hormone responsible for that is insulin. And we know that hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are critically important in the body for reproductive functions. So, hormones are critically important, and any kind of disruption in this endocrine system, which consists of organs responsible for releasing hormones, could be disastrous for the body and lead to imbalances, ultimately leading to diseases and symptoms. So, what are endocrine disruptors? So, endocrine disrupting chemicals are chemicals that directly interfere with the function of the hormones in our bodies. Unfortunately, these are not rare. Rather, they are very common, and we use them on a daily basis and we are exposed to them on a daily basis. We now know that endocrine disruptors are likely to contribute to cancers. They play a very important role in infertility. They play a very important role in obesity, as well as serious health disorders like diabetes and heart disease. So, unfortunately, they're everywhere. They're in the environment, they are in food, they are in water, and they are in personal care products that we use. So, examples of these endocrine disruptors would be plastic bottles, electronic receipts, preservatives, which are found in packaged foods, um, plastic softeners, they're present in pesticides, they're present in detergents, they're present in toys, they're present in cosmetics, they're present in shampoos, and you name it. So we come across a lot of these endocrine disruptors on a day to day basis. And then these disruptors go on to create imbalances in our body and ultimately disease. So, an example of an endocrine disruptor would be BPA. So, BPA is a chemical which is primarily used in the production of polycarbonate plastics. And it's found in various products like water bottles. So, a lot of us consume water in plastic water bottles. And hence, we are being exposed to BPA through these water bottles. They are present in baby feeder bottles. Unfortunately, they are also present in the water supply that we get through our pipes. The exposure to BPA is of concern because we know that it has health effects. It primarily affects the function of the brain. It can affect the function of the prostate gland of fetuses, infants, and children. It has also been shown to affect the behavior of children. We also know that there's a possible link between exposure to BPA and increased incidence of blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. So, if we look at endocrine disruptors, they have been linked to a lot of different problems, which includes respiratory problems, heart disease, diabetes, so on and so forth. And so the question is, what can we do about that? So we know that we need to take precautions and reduce our exposure to these endocrine disruptors. We need to become familiar with the endocrine disruptors that we come across on a day to day basis. So let's talk about some of the things that we can do. So, first and foremost, you want to make sure that you are buying organic fruits and vegetables. So, the environmental EPA, Environmental Protective Agency, has provided a list of dirty dozen and clean 15. The dirty dozen are foods which actually have a lot of pesticides in them. And so you may want to get those at least organic. The clean 15 are the ones where there isn't a lot of pesticides used. And so if you don't want to buy them organic, that's perfectly fine. After getting your fruits and vegetables from the grocery store, you may want to thoroughly wash them before consuming them. And you want to try and get food locally. You want to buy fruits and vegetables that are produced locally, if possible. You also want to reduce the consumption of canned and processed food because those definitely contain many different endocrine disruptors. It is very important not to microwave plastic food containers because we know that those plastic food containers contain endocrine disruptors, which then actually get into the food that we will be consuming. Ideally, it's good to prepare meals at home using fresh ingredients and eating a diversified diet with plenty of variety of fruits and vegetables. It is important to make sure that you check your water supply because a lot of water that we get through tap water or the water that we use for bathing actually has these endocrine disruptors. And so using a good water filter is very important. Avoid using non-stick pan because it is linked to health issues such as cancers. If you want to get a non-stick pan, then make sure it is the one which is made up of ceramic. You can also use iron, but that's usually not non-stick. So if you are planning to get a non-stick pot or pan, then try to get ceramic coated pots and pans. You can also use stainless steel pots and pans, and those are also safe. Of course, you can use glass containers. The other thing which is very important from the perspective of endocrine disruptors is exercise and physical activity, which is vigorous in nature. And the reason is that when we sweat after exercising, we are actually able to activate our detoxification system. We are able to activate our lymphatics, which allows our body to get rid of the toxins that we are exposed to on a day to day basis. So, when you're exercising, it is important to try and avoid outdoor exercise when pollution levels are high. And the reason is that, according to World Health Organization, air pollution causes the death of 6.5 million people worldwide. And this is the data from 2012. And we know that endocrine disruptors exist in air as volatile or semi volatile compounds in the gas phase. And these endocrine disruptors have the potential to cause cancer, developmental abnormalities, and reproductive abnormalities. So avoid exercise near high traffic areas with a lot of pollution. Personal care. This is another area where we are exposed to endocrine disruptors. And so we can actually avoid them using a few simple steps. So, one of them being reading labels. So, you want to read labels, you want to avoid products that contain phthalates. The products should be labeled phthalate free, BPA free, paraben free. You want to wash your hands, especially before preparing the food. Definitely try to avoid fragrances. Minimize the handling of electronically generated receipts and thermal paper because those contain BPA. So, whatever personal products that you buy, it is very important that you look at each and every ingredient and you make sure that there is no chemical that you cannot identify. You want to buy products which you are aware of, which you actually know is natural in nature. In terms of using plastic bottles or plastic containers, it is important to understand that all plastic containers contain some labels. These are numbers that you can find at the bottom. And you want to go with numbers 2, 4, and 5 because 2, 4, and 5 are the safest. Whereas plastic numbers 1, 3, 6, and 7 need to be avoided. Now, just because you have 2, 4, and 5, that does not mean that you can use plastic fearlessly because all plastic products can leach toxic chemicals when you heat them or when they get damaged. So, ideally speaking, you should not use plastic. But if you have to use it, then you may want to look at that number at the bottom and make sure that you are using safe plastic. For children, it's very important that endocrine disruptors be avoided because children have a limited capacity to detox. They're actually in their growing phase, and these chemicals can actually disrupt their physical and mental development. So, one of the most important things you can do is you may want to make sure that you are using BPA free toys. Um, Try to avoid plastic toys. When you're using infant formula bottles, you may want to make sure that you use glass bottles. That's the best, option. And so, if you're able to do that, you will actually avoid a lot of endocrine disruptors just by trying to limit those two things. Like the video and subscribe to our channel to watch health and wellness related videos. Leave a comment if you have any questions about the topic. Thank you. Bye bye.